Domantas Sabonis had 22, 28 rebounds, 22, 28, and 5. 13 offensive boards, by the way. Almost doubled up the Pelicans in offensive rebounds by himself. The Kings as a team had 21 offensive rebounds. The Kings as a team shot it 20 more times than the Pelicans did.
Yes.
They turned it over 5 more times.
In the fourth quarter, Domantas Sabonis had 13 rebounds, 8 of them defensive, 5 offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter alone.
You should be winning this game. You should win this game, especially against the Pelicans with no Zion. And you couldn't figure it out?
Yeah, disappointing, man.
Dude, I was so ready to come in today because the last couple of games I've been saying, and I mean, the first half, was it 18 assists on 21 made shots?
They started 19 out of the first 20 shots were assisted.
I mean, that's ridiculous. That's a great number.
They had 30 assists, 4 minutes left in the third quarter.
That's outrageous.
Absolutely spectacular. But you get to the fourth quarter and the ball just stopped moving. It just got absolutely sticky.
22 assists on 26 made shots in the first half. Like, it was, I was ready to come in here. And even if it was a close win, be like, okay, hey, we're starting to see it.
Mm-hmm.
You got some tweaks to make defensively, but hey, we're starting to see it. And then the wheels came off. I don't understand why the immediate down the stretch, why the offense devolves into, okay, someone's going to dribble the air out of the ball and take a tough shot.
Mm-hmm.
When has that ever been at any point when you watch any successful NBA team over the last, I don't know, basketball's changed a lot, but let's say over the last 10 years, how many of those teams have been get it to one guy, they're going to dribble the air out of it and then take a tough shot, and that's going to win us a championship?
Yeah, especially to do it repeatedly. Like, there's one thing if DeMar DeRozan is cooking, and look, he had 7 points in the first part of the fourth quarter. Like, so he started to get cooking. But once you start missing, that's when you have to hand the ball off to somebody else. When you hit a bunch, but then one miss, that's okay. 2 misses, that's okay. Mm-hmm. Third miss in the final 4 minutes, it's like, okay, look, somebody else gets a shot. But to go on and take 4 more shots after that, and again, like, they had 30 assists through 3 quarters. I think it was even more than that.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up with 5 assists in the fourth quarter and 2 assists in the overtime session. They just went away from what was working. And I know, like, there were some moments in this game where it's like, okay, this is like coaching growing pains as well. Like, why is Keon Ellis not on the court while you're watching CJ McCollum just go nuts? Like, what is happening?
That was insane.
You went to a 2 big lineup in a really strange spot, and it didn't work, and that was trouble. And again, to not do the 2 big lineup against 2 bigs seems strange to me, because that's where they really started rolling with the 3-point shot. You go 2 bigs and they start launching. So it's just tough. Like, there were plenty of moments in this game where it's like the lack of, I don't know, overall focus just like showed up late in the game. And I get it. Team's tired, 3 games, 4 nights. It's the last of a getaway game, but
none of that matters.
It doesn't matter at the end of the day, man. You're right. You look at the standings, and that one hurts as bad as any loss the entire season.
Yep.
Instead of riding a 4-game win streak in the All-Star break and going 3 games over 500 at the All-Star break, you're now 1 game over 500, and you don't have a win streak anymore.
And it's just hard to, and this isn't empirical, this is just vibes. It's hard to have optimism about them over their final, what are they, 40, 55 games in now?
Yeah.
We got 27 left?
27.
It is so difficult to look at those 27 games. I saw somebody in the chat, and I'm sorry I lost your chat, so I don't have it in front of me. But somebody in the chat was like, I got them winning 13 of their final 27.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of I have a hard time pushing back on that.
No, I do too.
Maybe they win 14, maybe they win 12, but it's just kind of in that range. And that's really disappointing, because this roster I think is the deepest one they've had since 22. But it's also not that well constructed. And you're just kind of seeing it down the stretch of these games. And at some point, I think the big change to make is what we've talked about ad nauseum for the last 2 weeks. Keon needs to start and probably close. The fact that you had CJ McCollum just going off last night and you just had no answer for him because you can't bench DeMar and you can't bench Malik and you can't bench Zach LaVine. Like, all right, man, cool. You're going to give up 140 points a night.
Yep. Hey, man, I looked at this team. There is no way long-term that I mean the next year and a half, right? Because that's at least what they're under contract.
Mm-hmm.
The next year and a half to start a backcourt with Malik Monk and Zach LaVine with DeMar DeRozan at the 3. There is no way to do that without giving up 125 points a night.
Nope.
And in all honesty, since the trades, they're a horrific defensive team.
It's bad.
Bad. I looked the last 10 games before the last 2. I think they were something like 120.7 defensive rating. They're giving up 121 per, and they're 27th in the league. That's tough, man. I'm telling you, you can't just swap out scores and think that all scores are created equal. And people can love or they can hate De'Aaron Fox.
Mm-hmm.
But De'Aaron Fox played at least league average defense and got you, a ton of steals. He led the league in steals last year.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's locked in, he's an exceptional defender.
Yes.
But his baseline is solid to really good.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's locked in, it's great.
Yes.
Right? That's not who they have now. And there's just no way to get around it. So instead of having a great defender in Keon Ellis in the starting backcourt, you had to start Malik Monk because things spun out.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things play into one giant idea that really wasn't formed properly.
Yeah, if somebody said this to me about the Kings last night, I'm not gonna put the person's name out there, but they said to me they're playing fantasy basketball.
Yeah,
that's what this roster is.
2K.
It's it. And I get that putting the ball in the hoop is a big part of the game, and you want guys who can do that. I agree with that, but it's not like Keon Ellis is a negative offensively.
Nope. And
if you don't want to start him, fine. At least close with him. There's got to be a hard conversation at some point.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's just what it is at this point. And until they do that, they're mid. And that's what they're going to be. Because you can't bench Zach LaVine, who you just traded for, and you can't bench the future Hall of Famer, and you can't put Malik Monk back on the bench. So, hands are tied. All right, cool.
Okay.
Go be 500.
Yep.
But at least, hey, everybody's ego has been satiated.
There's just a big, big difference. Trying to get to 8 games over 500 when you have this one game that matters so much. You're either 3 games up or you're 1 game up. And now in the final 27, you got to make up those extra games. And it's just a brutal reality that games like this matter so much.
Mm-hmm.
And the Kings put themselves in this situation. This is not
1,000%.
This is one of those games where, you say, oh, with that one free throw you missed here, or that technical foul that's basically what we're saying. No, you lost because you didn't do what you should have done in multiple games.
Yeah.
You put yourself in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one play. It's not one game. It's a series of games like this where you let yourself down.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
They have backed themselves into this corner,
mm-hmm.
and they have not equipped themselves to get out of that corner.
Yep.
So, season's not over. There's 27 games left, but it's got to something dramatic has to happen if we're going to feel better about wherever this team is headed. Also, CJ freaking McCollum, dog.
Yeah. If only he had an elite defender to throw at him.
Well, what are you going to do, Back yourself into the corner.
Yep.
All right. To make matters worse, the Kings didn't get any help around the NBA last night. In fact, they got negative help. Nothing went right for them in the standings. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what Markelle Fultz might be able to do to help
mm-hmm.
with all this, and also what his signing means for Devin Carter, and more Kings first half stuff. I don't know. That's James. I'm Kyle. We're the Insiders. Sponsored by Jiffy Lube here on ESPN 13. Joe Brazil is here as well. Here on ESPN 1320 Sacramento Sports Center.
Clear.
Joe, can you send me that first segment? Just the audio from it. Thanks, man. We're going to make a promo out of that.
Out of which?
Well, I think I'm going to run that first segment and run it back. But then there was a part in there at the very beginning that I'm going to try and cut for a little promo to play on the.
Randy, Lily, Doug's got some tough decisions to ponder over the break of this team if this team wants to take a leap. I got to be honest. Here's how this needs to go. Doug and his coaching staff has some tough decisions to make. Everybody else needs to get the F out of the room. I don't want to hear from anyone else. He's got some tough decisions to make because at the end of the day, Doug either gets his job or he doesn't. But if I'm going to put myself out there and try to win this job, I'm doing it my way. And I'm not letting anybody else or any politics or how much somebody makes or anything else get in the way.
Nope. Straight up.
If you want that job, you go win basketball games, and you win basketball games by doing what you believe is the right thing. And if you can, at the end of the day, you live with the results that you made the decisions and you live with those results. But kick everybody else out of the room. I don't want to hear it anymore. If
frankly, if you're Doug, and this is, you think, going to be an opportunity, or if you, this is not going, let me rephrase that. This isn't going to be your only opportunity, I think, just given kind of what he's done.
Yeah.
If somebody else insists on being in the room while you're making these decisions, then I'd peace out. Frankly.
Yeah.
That's not the way I want my first coaching tenure to go.
Nope.
Did you see what Juju Watkins did against UCLA last night?
I did not.
UCLA, number 1 team in the country. Juju goes for hang on one second. This isn't her, but she had, I think it was 35, 10, and 8. Okay. Let me find it. I thought that was her stat line. Okay. What did she go last night?
Oh, Jackie's on her way.
Someone help me out. What was Juju's stat line? I just saw the thing that was like she's the first player with 35 plus and 10 plus and 5 plus and 5 plus. She had like 8 blocks.
8 blocks.
Something like that.
Her and DeMar have a really good relationship.
She's ridiculous, dude. She's already over 1,500 points in her career, and she's played 58 games. Yeah, give it a rip. $38 points, 11 boards, 8 blocks, 5 assists, 6 of 9 from 3. It's insane.
The WNBA needs to expand so quickly.
Hey. Thanks, Joe. Joe Brazil behind the glass. I'm Kyle. That's James. Jiffy Lube's the sponsor. And Jiffy Lube wants to give you see the hoodie James is wearing? We're giving that hoodie away. It's the only way you can get it. You can't buy that hoodie.
Nope.
You can get it through this contest, so along with a $50 gift certificate to Jiffy Lube.
That's right.
All you have to do is go to ESPN1320.com. You'll find the Jiffy Lube contest page front and center. Super easy to find. You click on that, and you're going to enter the code word bummer. Because that's what last night was.
Bummer.
Just a bummer. Bummer. Bummer.
Mm-hmm.
And
There
you
it
win
is.
a $50 Jiffy Lube gift certificate and an Insider's hoodie.
Yeah, you enter to win.
I'm so sorry for whoever wins off of this word. Try to find a little joy in it.
I'm not.
Man, it's like we'll get to the scoreboard from last night, but it was just like I said, in the first half, it was close at the end of the half. But you look at the numbers and you're like, okay, this thing's trending the right way. I kind of think they're going to pull away and we'll feel good going to the All-Star break. But then it was like the Kings were the team that was just cruising into the break. And the Pelicans were the team fighting for their play-in lives. I was baffled.
Yeah.
Totally baffled.
I was too.
Such a bummer.
Just like disappointed that they didn't find a way to like put the game away. Like, I don't know. There are these moments in the season where you have opportunities, and this was a huge opportunity. And now you go into the break, you're tied for the 10th seed with the Warriors. You would have been a game up. You're now a game and a half behind the Mavs for the 8th seed. You would have been a half game. You would have been a game and a half behind Minnesota for the 7th seed. Like, all of these things, in the end, they matter, because trying to claw back and make up games down the stretch is very difficult, especially, I believe the Kings have the 4th most difficult remaining schedule out of all teams. It's like the Suns and then the Kings at number 4.
Yeah.
That's a tough look. And that's why games against 12-win teams matter. And I know some people are like, hey, you guys are whining, or hey, you guys, this is the last game before the All-Star break, all that stuff. That doesn't matter for this team. Either you're a playoff team or you're not. And what did they miss the playoffs by last year? Like 2 games?
Maybe 2. Yeah.
Yeah. And how many times did you blow a game because you couldn't hit free throws? It was 5.
The games were there.
How many games did you lose to teams that were in the bottom 5 in the in the NBA standings? Like 4. Like, all of these matter in the grand scheme. And like, you want to say, okay, well, this team beat the Celtics. Yeah, you beat the Celtics, but now you lose a game like this, and it like makes some sense of it. And I know it's, again, people might not want to hear it, but that was a huge blow to their playoff dreams last night.
So let's talk about why.
Yeah.
Because last night, had they lost, but they got a bunch of losses around them in the standings, it would have been one thing. Alas, they did not. In fact, like, every team they needed to lose won last night.
Mm-hmm.
The Dallas Mavericks played the Miami Heat. Dallas got a 118-113 win. That moves them to 30-26. They're now a full game and a half above the Kings for the number 8 seed in the Western Conference. We also got word yesterday that Daniel Gafford is out at least 6 weeks with a grade 3 MCL sprain.
Yeah, that was tough. That's some Malik Monk play.
Yeah, and that's 6 weeks, and then he's got to get like into basketball shape. So Daniel Gafford's going to be out probably a couple of months here. But Dallas is just kind of scary because they're not quite. They're just not. You would expect the emotional hit of losing Anthony Davis. Well, Derek Lively first, and then trading Luka Doncic, getting Anthony Davis getting hurt, and then Daniel Gafford getting hurt, to just be a gut punch that a team couldn't bounce back from, and they seem to be galvanizing around it.
Yeah, no, they do. They just keep playing hard, right? That's a trick. Like, everybody's beat up at this point, but when you start a lineup with Olivier Maxence Prosper, Kessler Edwards, Spencer Dinwiddie, Dante Exum, and Max Christie, that's who they started last night.
Kyrie didn't even play last night.
Kyrie didn't play, and they won.
That's nuts, dude. Dante Exum had 27. Oh my God.
That's incredible. 11 of 13 from the field. Yeah.
Do we think that's a career high for Dante Exum?
It might be.
27's crazy.
I don't know. Klay Thompson didn't play. Kyrie Irving didn't play. PJ Washington didn't play. Anthony Davis didn't play. Derek Lively didn't play. Daniel Gafford didn't play. Dwight Powell didn't play.
28 was Dante Exum's career high.
And they won.
Not that, I mean, I don't know that the Heat are any good. But
Well, they were 25 and 27 coming in. They're a much better team than a 12-win team.
That's a good point.
Just saying.
Yeah, just really impressive stuff from the Mavericks. So they are now a game and a half up on the Sacramento Kings in the standings.
All right.
The Golden State Warriors, who the Kings just gained a game on because the Warriors lost to Dallas the night before. The Warriors went into Houston and beat Houston. 105-98. Golden State had a 24-point lead that was cut to 2 in the fourth quarter. They're now tied with the Kings again, and those two teams play in the first game after the All-Star break.
Okay. Yeah, that Warriors team, they're on a roller coaster ride from one quarter to the next.
They just...
Like, that is
you want to talk about a mid-ass team?
Steph called them mid.
They on a game-to-game basis. They might be up 24. They might have that lead cut to 2. They might be down 24. They might blow that lead up to 30. That's what they did against the Bulls. They were down 24, I think, to the Bulls, and at one point led by 30.
It's just wild.
Just insane. So
yeah, like from one quarter to the next, you have no idea who they are.
Just zero clue.
Yep.
So I when we talked about it yesterday, it feels like, and we'll keep doing the standings watch and trying to follow along as best we can with what else is happening around the league, while also, trying to stay on top of what the Kings are doing. But it just feels like I don't know that the Suns or the Spurs or the Blazers are going to have enough to climb back up into the top 10. So it's like, okay, you're probably safe, but also you're not quite safe enough to really feel good about it. Which is why, you'd need a team like maybe Golden State or Dallas to fall off, and both got wins last night.
Yep. I think it's funny, the baby daddy in the chat brings it up. Last night was a back-to-back for the Kings, and they were hoping their offense would carry them, and it didn't pay off. I get that sentiment, but I hate to tell you this. The team they played the first night of the back-to-back was the same exact team.
Yeah, well.
Both teams were on a back-to-back. They both played against each other the night before. We can't like sugarcoat it and say, hey, well, it was a back-to-back. The 3 games in 4 nights, I guarantee you the Pelicans were looking at a very, very similar schedule and an identical schedule in the last 2 days. Just saying.
We got someone on the Elk Grove Kia talk line at 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. Don, you're on the Insiders. What's up?
Hello?
Yeah, hey, buddy.
Hey, Kyle, you got to realize something. The Lakers just smoked the Jazz the other night at home, went back to Utah and got smoked in Utah. These games against the same team back-to-back are hard to sweep the teams. I don't care if they're 12 wins or what. I mean, they're hard to beat. 2 teams, the same team back-to-back at the same time.
Okay.
I would agree, except for the fact that the first night, Zion Williamson busted you up for a bunch of points. The second night, he didn't even play.
Yeah.
And you had all of your players, and they didn't even have that guy.
Also, and thanks for the call, Frank. Appreciate you. The Lakers are 32-20. When the Lakers lose a game like that, it's like,
yeah.
All right.
They've got a buffer.
Right. The Kings don't. That's why this is a big deal, man. It's not that they lost a game on February 13th to the Pelicans, because the Pelicans weren't going to sit at 12 wins all year. They were going to win some.
They had lost 10 in a row. Yeah.
And like I said, in a vacuum, losing an NBA game, losing one NBA game is not a huge deal. But when you're where the Kings are, where you have a chance to make it 4 wins in a row, you're playing a very winnable game. You're going into the All-Star break.
They sit their best player that dominates you every time you play them.
It's a good spot for you.
It is.
And it's not that they played terribly. It's that they couldn't get one stop down the stretch against a team with one weapon offensively. And salute to Trey Murphy, but he was not 1 of 9 from 3. Like, that's why this is a big deal. It's not just that they lost. If they were 30, if this loss dropped them to 32-20, we'd be like, all right. Not the way you wanted to end it, but
yeah,
still in a good spot.
Take 32-20 right now.
Oh my God. Let's get to our guy TC on the Elk Grove Kia talk line. TC, what's good, bro?
Kyle Hammer, what's going on?
What's happening, man?
Oh man, just vibing. Kind of frustrated with last night, but you know what? So coming off the break, because I got Kings and Niners, but I'm gonna go Kings first.
Great.
I think we gotta go. I think Doug's gonna have to have a difficult conversation. I know Debo, Hall of Famer, and all that, but we're gonna have to have a conversation of who we gonna put on the bench and bring in Keon, right? So it might be after Debo, you're gonna have to make a 6-man role, get the minutes, what you need. We're gonna get you covered, brother. We got you, but this is for the betterment of the team. Doug's gonna have to have a one-on-one with. It ain't gonna be a team. It could be a one-on-one with Debo.
Yep.
Go holler and have a man-to-man conversation with that guy. Go ahead, Kyle. I'm sorry.
No, welcome to the island, bro. We're hanging out.
Yeah. We're with
For
you
sure.
We're with you.
until you get to your Niners takes, and then we're probably not with you, but go ahead, TC.
Hey, let's check it out. So look, hey, Kyle and Ham, listen to me. This is a question, a serious question. Brock Purdy and Debo to the Jags for Trevor Lawrence. Yes or no?
No.
Yeah, it's probably a no for me.
Yeah.
I think
It's for me, it's a no. Like, you've been waiting for Trevor Lawrence to be the player he should have been for way too long. I think
thanks for the call, TC.
Yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence has got off the hook for not being a guy who could fully lead a team.
It kind of depends. If Brock Purdy's going to make more money than Trevor Lawrence, I think Trevor Lawrence is like $55 million annually.
Yeah,
I'd think about it. This is where it's tough because Trevor Lawrence has way more physical tools than Brock does, like, to be sure. And maybe in Kyle Shanahan's offense, he would just elevate their offense in a way that Brock can't, which I think is on the table, which is why I'd think about it. But I've also not been super impressed by really anything I've seen Trevor Lawrence do on a consistent basis. I don't know.
Okay.
I think I'm going to think about that. That's a really good question. I'm thinking about it.
All right.
I'm not a hard no, but I'm also not a definite yes.
Yeah, because I mean the Debo point of it doesn't really matter to me.
Debo's out.
It's just Lawrence for Brock Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think Brock Purdy has led a team deep into the playoffs, all the way to the Super Bowl. Like, whether or not Trevor Lawrence can do that or not, I don't know. We haven't seen it.
No, but the 49ers would also be by a pretty wide margin the best team he's ever been on.
Yeah.
So that's where it's like, if being in the Niners offense elevates your play, Trevor Lawrence has the physical tools that Brock Purdy does not. And maybe it would elevate him to kind of the player that the Jags were hoping they'd get. And the player that everybody's been thinking Trevor Lawrence is since he won a title as a freshman at Clemson. That's why I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm on the fence. I know that makes for bad radio, but I need to think about it for more than 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
I'll have an answer on Monday. Tuesday. I'm sorry. I'll have an answer for you on Tuesday. We don't have a show Monday.
We don't?
No. President's Day.
These notes I just don't get.
Yeah, I found out via Jesse on air the other day.
These memos,
right, man.
These memos, they don't come to James's inbox. I don't understand.
Yeah. Where were we? We'll put a pin in the Niners thing. I really need to think about that, though.
Okay.
I think I lean yes, but it depends on Brock's contract. Let me think about it. Okay. Tuesday. We'll discuss that Tuesday. The Timberwolves then played the Thunder.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe we can get a Timberwolves loss and stay within striking distance at 7 seed. Nope. Timberwolves 116, Thunder 101. I don't know what to make of the Timberwolves, man. I think their ceiling's just higher than Sacramento's because they play better defense.
Okay.
And that's what sticks out to me. Is I think offensively they're going to be clunky, especially because Julius Randle's just not going to fit. There's nothing to figure out with Julius Randle. He just doesn't fit what they're doing offensively. Jaden McDaniels is a huge question mark on that end of the floor.
Well, Jaden has kind of done exactly what Keegan's done.
Yeah.
He's just like, you put a ball dominant, high usage player next to him on the front line, and he's lost his way. Offensively, I mean, it's tough because I think he's got more potential as an offensive player. And every time I see that team, and I see them when they're missing players. He's actually really productive.
He had 21 points last night. Something
Yeah.
Keegan hasn't done since November.
Wow. No, that's true.
November was the last time Keegan Murray scored 20 points in a damn basketball game. That's ridiculous.
I will say this, though. Like, Jaden McDaniels, 11.5 points, 5.6 rebounds. He's shooting 33.8 from 3 on 3.8 attempts per game. It's like the Spider-Man meme all over again with him and Keegan Murray.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And how old is Jaden?
24. Yeah. Yeah. It's just it's really tough. Like he's in the exact same situation that you're getting with the Kings. And I'd even say a worse situation because Gobert averages 11 points a game, you know? And so, Dante DiVincenzo coming off the bench is 11 points. Like Keegan Murray's the fifth best scorer on this team at this point. And it's just a bad situation to be in. So
yeah, I just don't. The Timberwolves are proof positive that at least for me, that your ceiling is higher when you can play defense. That's it. In the modern NBA, you can kind of piece it together offensively. And there's like, you have to have a requisite level of offensive talent. But when you can just go get stops, that is so much more valuable than we got a bunch of dudes who can put the ball in the bucket. Can't get a stop to save our lives, but man, if you need a mid-range jumper.
Got you.
That's just.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Anyways. The Clippers are kind of in the same boat, and they beat the Jazz 120-116 in overtime. First of all, Ben Simmons looked great in his debut.
Of course he did.
Why wouldn't he?
I don't know.
The Jazz were up 20 in that game. But again, this is where I feel exactly the same about the Clippers as I do about the Timberwolves. They just play really good defense. They have a bunch of rangy athletes, and they can get stops.
Yeah, that, and you're playing a team in the Jazz that has no interest in winning.
Yeah,
and
no doubt.
Again, the players can win. Good players can score. They can, like exactly what we saw from the Pelicans last night. Like the Kings didn't just, like throw the game away. Like, again, CJ McCollum busted them up, right? But when you look at a team like Utah, they have talent. It's just that once you get past the first layer of talent, and when they want to lose a game, it's like, okay, let's put in the super young guys for a whole bunch of minutes, and we'll go ahead and lose without like admitting that we're losing.
Yeah.
But
you look at James Harden, 32, 10, and 7 last night with 3 steals and 2 blocks. Norman Powell had 41. But then Chris Dunn, really good defensive guard. Ivica Zubac's defensive presence underneath. Derek Jones Jr., really good defender. Ben Simmons, 27 minutes off the bench, really good defender.
Yeah.
And distributor and ball handler. They are, I think they're going to be really tough for the Kings to catch in the 6th seed. Especially now that they're 3.5 up?
Yep.
I think.
Gonna be tough.
Yeah, it is. All right. Bad night gets worse. Markelle Fultz was active for the Kings and didn't play last night. You mentioned something to me that I hadn't given a ton of thought to. Is Devin Carter's rookie season with Sacramento over? We'll talk about that next. And can we figure, it is 2025. Can we get in-arena technology figured out?
Wild.
He's James. I'm Kyle. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. This is The Insiders on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. Oh. Eagles Championship Parade looks incredible.
Oh, they're running it right now?
Yeah. Jonas. Except Jonas and CJ are probably homies. Yeah, I don't know. We're going to talk about this for sure. Yeah, we'll talk about this too. I don't know that it did. Yeah, I definitely don't think they're making the top 6. The play-in's a weird thing because you get hot for a couple games and maybe you back your way in, but I don't think, especially I don't know that the Kings are going to play well enough to catch anybody. And I don't think like the Clippers would need to collapse. Like that was kind of my point there is I don't think the Clippers are going to fall off enough that even if the Kings play well, they're going to catch them. Ooh. I like this idea. I don't think it'll happen though. See, I don't know. We'll open with this. This is a good observation. I'm saving so many chats right now. Yeah, the Clippers, that's it. They have way more like the right dudes.
Yes. That's what I always find when I'm looking at they just look like they have a bunch of the dudes that make sense.
Yeah, it's just it's going to be the James Harden and Norm Powell show on offense.
Yeah.
Everybody else knock down a 3 here and there and play good defense.
Yeah, for, again, if you can bring in Ben Simmons because he also went out and got Bogdanović.
Yep.
Like those guys will like complement each other perfectly.
Yep.
Lazy, chill out with the caps, dude. Come on. Come on, calm down.
That's a good question, Will.
I think they'll have 2, Mark. I'm not sure. What day is the Warriors game?
Wednesday.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they will. They will only have 1 practice.
Is that right?
Wednesday or Thursday? Let me look.
Please. Because I sure as hell don't know.
No, it's not till Friday.
What?
Yeah, they don't play.
Oh, February 21st. Jesus.
Yeah. They have 8 days off here. No, that's not the case. The Kings will probably, all of them I think they report back on Tuesday. And they'll probably have a night practice on Tuesday. They'll have a practice on Wednesday. They'll have a practice on Thursday. Worst case scenario, it's Wednesday night.
Boy, I had
and Thursday.
Days counted way wrong.
So at least 2 practices.
Maybe I'll go to that one.
Steven, I'll let you decide that one for yourself.
We'll grab a couple calls here.
Yeah.
No idea.
What are you talking about? We'll make stuff up to talk about. We're good at this.
Brother, we will cross that bridge at 9 a.m. on Tuesday.
We got through an entire summer. Come on now.
James is there. I'm Kyle. Joe Brazil on the 1s and 2s. We'll take a couple of your calls on the Oak Grove Kia talk line at 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. My favorite thing about Joe being here, well, aside from my favorite thing about Joe being here is the positive energy that he radiates.
Well, that Joe is here. I mean,
right. The vibes are just
We're
up.
both big fans of Joe.
For sure.
Yep.
But secondly, at the breaks, since I'm not cutting things, because I'm usually doing audio stuff, and salute to Joe for doing that for me, I get to go through the chat and actually like interact and hang out.
Yeah.
And I want to get to some of what was said during the break. And again, if you're interested in what happens during breaks, log on to youtube.com/ESPN1320. or twitch.tv/ESPN1320. And it's just us vibing. We just hang out during the breaks. But regular Kings fan 916 said, we will see who this team really is the first 5 games after the break. I kind of think we already know. Maybe a switch flips during the break and there's a massive turnaround, which I think we'll find out like game 1 if it looks different. But I think we have a deep enough sample size of this team that it's just kind of, this is it.
Okay, so I think that by rearranging the chairs on the deck, you might be able to find something different. Like my biggest concern with this team is that their defensive rating is just like so bad right now. I talked with Damian and Kenny about this. I think it was yesterday. The problem that I see is that, advanced statistics, you can look at them a whole bunch of different ways. But what I like to look at them as a predictor for what's about to happen, right? Because they're showing you trends over longer stretches of games, and you're hoping that you can pick up on some things that actually make some good sense, right? Even 2 years ago, I kept telling the guys the Kings started the season 0-4, and then they kept plugging away. They weren't like on fire, but I kept telling them, hey, the advanced statistics say this is one of the best offensive teams in the league. There's something missing, and once they figure out what's missing, they'll take off. And that's exactly what happened, right? So when you're looking at advanced statistics, that's where I always go. It's like, hey, look, there's something that they're telling you. You just have to look like very closely and say, okay, what is it? The advanced statistics are telling me that this is one of the worst defensive basketball teams I've ever seen. Like this version today is one of the worst. Now, you can go in and during a couple of practices, you can tweak some stuff. We talked about like the Jake LaRavia thing where he didn't even know that the Kings funnel to the outside, not to the middle, all of these things, right? Like, I think when you're looking at these, like the advanced statistics of this team though, like there's no way to get around the fact that you don't have good defensive players, and that the players that you brought in, like, sure, Jake LaRavia can help a little bit, but he's playing 12 or 13 minutes a night. Valanciunas, he can help a little bit, but he's playing 12 to 18 minutes a night. The core of your team with, again, a starting backcourt with Malik Monk and Zach LaVine, those guys are both playing 30 to 35 minutes a night. There's no way to disguise that. There's no way to disguise those two with DeMar DeRozan at the 3. Like when you have 3 players who are not known for defense at all. Now, I saw somebody earlier in the chat say, oh, Domantas Sabonis is a horrible defender. You're absolutely wrong. The only thing he doesn't do is block shots. He is a spectacular on-ball defender. Look at the stats. We just saw the stats like 2 days ago. He was the number 1 post defender in the league. Like
for all the times teams post up.
Yeah, but they do a lot because they don't think that he has the length to block shots. He doesn't have the length to block shots. So, but that's the problem. Like when you're building a team, what you don't do is go undersized at every position and go offensive at 3 key positions where all those guys, if you have 3 offensive players who don't really play defense that well, all that means is that Domantas Sabonis is going to foul out at almost every game down the stretch. Like they're just letting guys go right by, and Domas is the one standing there in the key who takes the brunt of it. And that's what we've seen, whether it's him or Jonas. Like for the last 6 games coming into last night, Domantas Sabonis had 5 fouls or more. 4 or 6.
That's crazy.
Like he can't stay on the floor. And it's not because he make some egregious errors? Sure. But there's also these points where he's out there trying to rebound against 3 dudes. Because nobody else is rebounding. Sometimes Keegan does, but nobody else is. And so you're looking at, like, again, there are these things that we can look at within the advanced statistics that tell me that this is going to be a difficult run down the stretch. And, right now the Kings over their last 10, they're 5-5. It's a 119.2 defensive rating and a 113.9 offensive rating. They're negative 5.8, a 5.3. And that's a much better look than it was yesterday. When or 2 days ago, when their previous 10 games, they were like a negative 8.5.
Also not going to work.
No. The turnovers are up. The assist numbers are down outside of last night's game. Like, these are things that you can look at and say, okay, how do we fix these things? Some of it you can. Some of the improvements can happen on the fly. But a lot of things are just straight up, like, your team is poorly constructed, at least the way that you're running it out there right now.
Yep.
And I don't know that, like, putting Keon Ellis at the 2 and moving Zach LaVine to the 3 and DeMar DeRozan off the bench, I don't know if that's going to save everything, but it certainly could help your defense.
You got to try something.
Yeah.
You cannot keep going forward with the rotations as they are.
Yep.
And you cannot keep going forward with whatever team ethos you have that has Keon Ellis playing, is it 22 minutes? 22 minutes last night? 23 minutes last night. In a game where the opposing team's best guard and really only scorer is killing you.
Got it.
That can't continue to be a thing.
No.
Keon's fewest minutes since February 1st in a 34-point loss to OKC.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there wasn't a reason why he played less last night. I know he got hot a couple of times. He certainly had that exchange with CJ McCollum and got hot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if they didn't pull him and then, like, maybe forget to put him back in at certain points.
Forget to put him back in?
Well, I mean, like, you're just, like, in the flow of the game. You pull a guy out to cool him down, and then it's like, oh, your rotations are mixed up now, and you don't go back. I don't know. All I can tell you is that
Feels like CJ McCollum getting to the rack and hitting threes at will would be a good, like,
hey,
we need a guy to defend him. Oh, yeah.
Why?
Keon, sorry about that.
Why aren't we playing Keon?
Get in there.
Yeah, tough look.
Yeah, that's it's easy. It's right there.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows that. Everybody sees it. Let's get to Big E on the Elk Grove Kia talk line, 916-909-1320. Don, what's up?
What up, guys? Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, same to you, brother.
Thanks.
Of course. I just wanted to give both of y'all your flowers. I'm going to join you, Kyle, and TC on the island because we got to start Keon. I don't care how. Just get him in there and get him more minutes.
Let's go.
And then to you, James, I've never really watched Zach LaVine, but I know he's a former, like, dunk contest winner, so I'm, like, super athletic. How bad could he be on defense? And then ever since we got him, I was like, I see what James has been talking about this whole time. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Big E. Appreciate it.
What I like to do is go on the radio and lie to everybody and then get proven wrong repeatedly because that's good radio.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just hot take, guys.
Yeah, just hot take. Just hot take all day long.
Yeah, Zach LaVine, like you said this yesterday, there are moments where on-ball defense, you're like, oh, nice, slid his feet, cool.
Yeah.
And then there's other moments where he'll lose a cutter or he won't help or he'll just kind of ole.
Yeah, he pulls a Bulls jersey, a Red Bulls jersey out of his thing, goes, ole! Like, hey, look at that. Go ahead and run right by me. Yeah. Because it doesn't matter what's happening behind me, Domas. Standing there in the key, like, waiting to get, pick up another foul. Yeah, it's tough, man. We have a large body of work here.
Yep.
So when you're looking at a player who's been in the league 11 years, and he's a gifted offensive player,
mm-hmm.
but when you look at a player who's been in the league for 11 years, you know exactly who he is when he gets there.
It's a good sample size.
It is.
Let's squeeze Mitch's call in here before we pay some bills. Mitch in New Jersey, what's up, dude?
How's it going? Happy Valentine's Day, guys. Hey, it was nice to talk to Joe.
Yeah, Joe's the best.
He is.
It was nice talking. I didn't feel like I was in a penalty box. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to when you dial and someone picks up, you expect to hear somebody talk to you right away. But anyway, thanks. First of all, I'd rather have Sam Donald than the Jacksonville quarterback.
Oh, okay.
More of a bust than Sam. You can't say he's had one really good year. At least Sam's got that on him.
Right.
Really? And I love their offense. I don't care about defense. But with this drafting and trading, they slotted. Everybody seems to be a little short for their position. They get the Keegan and DeMar and even Zach. They're all like 6'6", right? Tops. And that's why Mr. Sabonis has to get all the rebounds. He's got to do all the dirty work. You got nobody. You don't have a real power forward.
For sure. Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate the call.
Oh, he was still going, I thought.
Oh, was he?
I think so. It just faded. It dropped. His audio dropped.
Mitch, my bad, dog. I thought he was done.
Nobody puts
I thought
Mitch
he was saying
in the corner.
we need a real power forward.
There it
All
is.
I thought that was it.
That's
my bad.
okay. No, you're good, Joe.
I'll take that one, Mitch.
No,
I'm
I think
sorry.
no.
sorry,
I think he got his point across. Salute to Mitch and salute to
That's
Joe.
right.
And salute to our friends over at Jiffy Lube.
Yeah, Jiffy Lube wants to show you some serious customer love this this month with their February oil change deals that you can find online. Simply visit jiffylube.com and find a service center near you to see these sweetheart deals on oil changes, wiper blades, and more during the month of February. So drive into savings at jiffylube.com today and save in the month of February. Happy Valentine's Day from Jiffy Lube.
We'll keep diving into the Kings loss last night. We'll dive into the first half. What's gone wrong? What's gone right? If anything, I'll do all that next. And All-Star Weekend. Are you looking forward to it? Because I sure am. He's James. I'm Kyle. Joe Brazil pushing the buttons. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube on the Insiders. On the Insiders on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. Jesus. What up, y'all?
I do feel bad. Mitch was like, "Oh, Joe, thank you so much
Can
for
you take us out of program 3?
hearing me out."
The commercials. Oh, yep.
Oh,
thanks.
there we go. Whew. What's going on, everybody? Yeah, sorry, Biggie. I wasn't trying to be a total smartass there with you.
Well,
no, I just like in general. I wasn't like calling Biggie out. I would like that was just me being a smartass in general, not a smartass aimed at you. So,
what's up, Scooter?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. No idea why, by the way.
Quinn Walker, do you watch basketball? Because I see you in the chat, and I'm just wondering if you actually watch the games. I'm not sure. Like,
Bummer is working now, by the way.
I can see like plenty of clips from Kings games while I'm watching the game too. Like you're watching, you're like, oh, that wasn't great. Just saying.
Yeah, he's not like I said, those flashes where on ball, he's not bad.
Yeah, it's anytime he's off ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's not the worst defender in the sport by a wide margin, but I wouldn't also classify him as a good defender.
And Quinn, I'll take the hater label if that means that I'm honest. Just so we're clear.
See, I don't think hating to me is no matter what that person does. I don't know. You can think Zach LaVine is not a fit for Sacramento. It's like, okay, that's perfectly reasonable, especially given what we've seen over his first few games in Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
Hater to me is like, I don't know. I don't have a good example. I don't think I really hate any athletes like that right now.
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni. I hate Nick Sirianni, the Eagles head coach. No matter what he does, Nick Sirianni's never, ever going to get credit from me.
Super Bowl champion.
Just a fraud. Hour number 2, James Hams there. I'm Kyle Madsen. Jiffy Lube's the sponsor. Joe Brazil, pushing the buttons. We're hanging out with you till noon. Then we'll hand it off to D'Lo and KC, and they'll take you into the weekend at 4 o'clock right here on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. We were talking about being a hater during the break, and I couldn't think of a player that I just like that I'm a hater of. Like
Zach Collins.
Zach Collins came up in the chat. And yeah, Zach Collins, I'm just a hater. Couldn't tell you anything. Like, Zach Collins might be good. He might not be. I don't care. I can't stand him. Dylan Brooks. I know that Dylan Brooks has, like, some value, but I'm out. Dylan Brooks can go to heck.
Okay.
Directly to heck. Don't dump that. I want everybody to hear it. Yeah, just like, no, I don't like him. I don't think that's how Ham feels about Zach LaVine. Your questions are about the fit.
Yeah.
Your concerns are about the fit.
Well, the concerns are clear. They're about the fit. It's about defense. It's about 43, 46, and 49 million. And it's about a history of injury. Now, if he doesn't get hurt his entire time here in Sacramento, that's great.
Definitely.
But there's no way to get around the fact of the money he makes and the fact that he plays on one side of the court.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he has moments where he has nice defensive plays, but those moments are fleeting. And if you're going to be a good defensive team, it's really because, again, Malik Monk has moments where he's good defensively.
Mm-hmm.
He also has plenty of moments where he's not.
Correct.
And so if that's your starting backcourt, you better have like the good McDaniel brother at the small forward and Keegan Murray at the power forward. And then you better be able to come off the bench with a shot blocker. Like, you have got to support those guys the right way.
Well,
and that's the problem.
And it's just, it might not even be just on-ball defense. It's how easy they are to get into a mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when you're having to switch everything defensively because you're like, hey, you know what? Zach's not getting through this screen. So we gotta switch it to not give up a wide open look. And there's just all these things that happen defensively. You're losing guys on back cuts off the ball. You're getting the Kings into rotations easily where you're generating wide open threes and going, what were the Pelicans 21 of 50 last night from three?
Something like that.
I guess that's what happens. And that doesn't mean that every time they're going to defend somebody, that player is going to score. It just makes it really hard to play team defense.
It also doesn't mean that like everything is Zach LaVine's fault. Like,
not by a long
if
shot.
you're going to put Zach LaVine on a basketball team, you need to support him the right way, just straight up. And like, we watched this entire thing play out with the Bulls for the last 3 years.
Yep.
And they had Patrick Williams part of the time. They had
Ayo Dosunmu,
and before they traded
Wendell Carter.
No, that was a long time ago. Alex Caruso.
Yeah.
At least they had like on-ball defenders to mask some of this. That's what you have to do. And even that didn't really, I mean, they had a couple of years ago, they're a really good defensive team, despite having some of these players on the roster. But like, you got to figure it out. And team building isn't easy. And team building at the deadline is even more difficult. But, I would like to tell you Jake LaRavia can disguise a bunch of this stuff. The problem is he's playing 12, 13 minutes a night.
Exactly.
It's really tough to have that type of impact when you're not playing major minutes. Same with Jonas Valanciunas. It's fine. He can help you with like putting a roadblock in the middle of the key. Is he going to be able to defend a 3-point shooting like stretch 4, stretch 5? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But there's value in what he brings. The problem is 12, 13 minutes a night. And when you have other players who are playing 34, 35, 40 minutes last night, a bunch of guys go for 40 minutes, it gets really, really tough. And if he is going to be that player, right, that just is like instant offense and all that stuff.
Who? LaVine?
Zach LaVine. That's fine. But in a game where you got 32 points and 10 assists, you have got to say, get out of me, give me the ball and get out of the way.
Yeah. And the players have to recognize that too.
No, they do. They do. They just like the night before, they recognized that Keon Ellis was hitting his threes.
Yep.
Kept feeding him. Then last night you get to a point where it's like, hey, why do you go away from him for the entire final 6 minutes of the game in the overtime session?
Didn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all. And so that's player recognition on the court. Doug at one point ran out of timeouts. Both coaches ran out of timeouts late in that game. But it came to a point where it's like, okay, like, how do you fix it on the court? And right now, these players don't have, I'd say, the cachet with each other to say, hey, everyone in the circle, we're not doing that anymore. Clear out. We're going to do something of, if the ball comes to you on the baseline and you can get another jump shot up, that's fine. But we're not going to go ISO on you. We're going to try to get in a pick and roll for 3 or 4 plays in a row. We're going to try to get Zach some more shots because he's on fire. Like, those are things that need to happen. This team needs to have, they need to be assertive with each other. They need to have honest conversations with each other.
Yeah. And the guys, Malik and DeMar, or sometimes it's going to be Zach LaVine, who the ball's not going to be in their hands. They have to be able to live with that.
Yeah.
They have to be able to understand that and sacrifice on certain nights. And it's tough, dude. Like, player management is really, really difficult. Like, it is part of what made Eric Spoelstra so freaking good at, and he's good at a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
But when he had the Miami Heat with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, like, that's a lot of ego management. And the Warriors of the mid 2010s and late 2010s, like, that was a lot of ego management. And that's kind of what it's going to be on Doug here over the next 27 games.
Yeah. This is, like I said this a couple of days ago, this is not like the first 2 years of college, like coaching situation. This
No.
isn't like getting your bachelor's degree. This is like master's, PhD level stuff that Doug, who is a new coach, has to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all of the changes at the deadline, replacing a really good coach, all of the changes at the deadline, including your best player going out the door,
Mm-hmm.
but 3 rotational pieces and guys that defensively aren't going to mesh at all, which we already know. So, like, there's all of these things that you've got to, like, dive into and be sensitive to the fact that, hey, look, we can sit here and bag on DeMar DeRozan for missing 7 shots in like the final 4 minutes of the fourth and the overtime session. The night before, he won you the game with doing the same thing. The game before that, he scored 42 and won you the game doing this same exact thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to be in the moment where you realize that, like, tonight might not be your night and it might be somebody else's night. And that's okay. You don't have to be the guy that carries everybody, that carries his team to victory every single night. And I don't know, they flash the stat up on the screen. DeMar DeRozan has more clutch points in the last 10 years than anybody in the NBA. I get it.
Hey, we should have talked about this yesterday. The way they presented that was so funny to me because it was DeMar DeRozan and then LeBron James and Giannis and De'Aaron Fox and Trae Young in some order. And the broadcast is like, look at DeMar up there at the top of the list with LeBron and Giannis and Trae Young. So many great players. Just passed over De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, here we go.
Well, I mean,
That
hey,
was funny.
that was a problem the entire first half of the season here. You could see the internal struggle between Fox being the guy who's typically closing and DeMar DeRozan taking over the job, and like the battle there. Like, they didn't complement each other either.
Nope.
It's not like this, and that's where sometimes players are difficult to complement. And sometimes a player like DeMar, it works a lot better off the bench because, hey, look, he can do what he does and he can get up 10, 12, 15 shots a game, but he can do it with a second unit where they're going to rely on him for that scoring punch, as opposed to a first unit where guys are literally getting frozen out. And you're having games where your superstar center is getting 6 shots or he's getting 10 shots and everyone's going, why is this happening? It's like, what do you mean? Why is it happening?
Yeah.
Because you got 3 other guys who are averaging between 15 and 20 shots a game in the starting lineup alone.
The amount of times Domas gets a switch on a smaller player, and look, I know that Domas is not like a deep offensive bag, like get him the ball and he's just going to cook. Like, that's not his game. That's not his strength. But when there's a smaller player on him in the post, he's going to score. The amount of times he gets a switch and he's just stuffed this guard into the second row and they're like, no, don't like it. Get him the ball. Anyways, I'm sorry. That was just
it happens all the time.
It's a pet peeve. And that goes beyond DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. That goes back to last year. It's just not a thing they look at. Why?
Well, then on top of that, there's poor Keegan, who's like,
just hanging out.
like, I understand where I'm at on this pecking order.
Yeah.
Is there a below bottom? Because it's like I'm down there somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, whatever's keeping this totem pole upright, like the hole you dug in cement in the ground, like I'm part of that down there.
Man.
Yeah, tough.
Salute to Jiffy Lube, who sponsors the program. James Hems there. I'm Kyle Madsen. Joe Brazil behind the glass. We're the Insiders. We're live from 10 a.m. to noon every day. If you just checking in, salute. Appreciate you. We did our giveaway earlier, and apparently the word was not working, so we're going to do it again. ESPN1320.com. Go to the Jiffy Lube contest page. It's front and center. You can't miss it. Jiffy Lube is going to hook you up with a $50 Jiffy Lube gift certificate and an exclusive Insiders hoodie that James Ham is currently wearing. We have them in 3 colors. You can only get it through this contest, or if you work here, but you can only get it through this contest. And you're going to go to ESPN1320.com to the contest page and enter the code word BUMMER, because that's what last night's game was, a bummer. BUMMER. That should be in at ESPN1320.com on the Jiffy Lube contest page now. Hell yeah.
There we go.
Are you looking forward to All-Star Weekend?
I'm looking forward to the break. No, really. I mean, like, I'm credentialed to go to All-Star Weekend. I'm not going because the Kings.
Cool. I'm glad I gave up my credential for you then. No, that's tight. That's tight.
I told Charlie, hey, you can give it back.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, if the Kings aren't represented, then there's not a reason for me to be there.
No doubt. No doubt.
And so that's one of those things where it's like, hey, look, I get it. But it's crowded. It's crazy. It's going to be in a city that's totally packed with people, and everything's just extremely different. And if the Kings aren't going to be represented, it's like, okay, I don't need to go down for the Scalabissiere and Isaac Jones performance in like the Rising Star. Well, they're not even in the Rising Stars. They're in the G League next game.
Yes, but from an NBA standpoint, they were shut out of All-Star Weekend.
Okay.
Skills contest, Rising Stars, dunk contest, and All-Star game.
All of it. Yeah.
All of it. Doesn't feature the Kings. I'm really looking forward to the new format.
Okay.
I think the games are going to be really fun.
I hope
because
so.
You get that Elam ending. It's going to be so much shorter. And it's just, that there's like a specific end goal you're going for. And I think that's going to drive up the competitiveness.
I'm
really looking forward to it.
It's just been so bad,
It's been awful.
Yeah, I mean, even like watching De'Aaron go a couple of years ago, and he was coming off like the birth of Baby Rain at that point, like just days before, and so he had a lot going on. But like to just watch somebody totally disengaged, and
what most of the guys in the game were.
Yeah, I totally agree. But like that's not what you want to see from like your star player. If you're going to go represent your city and your team, you want them to go out there and find success, maybe win a contest.
Yeah, be the MVP. Go be on a national stage with all these other stars. Go make an impact. It's like, even if you're on the floor for 3 minutes, like, oh man, look, De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, go out there and
10 points in 3 minutes. Nice.
Yeah, like showcase what you have.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just a bummer because I get that people say, well, Domantas Sabonis, he's a lot of things, but what he isn't is like sexy.
Yeah, not exciting.
Yeah, he's not exciting as a basketball player. It's like, okay, yeah, but that doesn't change the fact that he's one of the top 10 players in the league. So you can
he would try in the All-Star game.
Yeah, he would. he would actually rebound in the All-Star game.
I think the new format is going to lend itself to competitiveness, which we just didn't see. It was 1 or 2 guys trying to win MVP, and it was 0 amounts of defense. And I'm not like, look, I don't necessarily need it because I get it. It's a long weekend. You want some time off. And now all of a sudden you got to go play more basketball. I'm not necessarily asking it to be the early 90s All-Star games where guys are treating it like Game 7 of the finals.
Yeah.
But can I get a little bit of competitiveness, just a small amount? And I think this is going to drive that.
I hope
especially when you get the Rising Stars All-Star team in there where it's like a bunch of young guys who are trying to prove themselves on this stage. And I think it's just I think this is a really good idea from the NBA. The other thing from All-Star Weekend, I am skipping dunk contest discourse this year.
Oh.
I'm skipping it. I don't maybe it's a great one because every once in a while we get a great dunk contest. My guess is it's going to suck. And we're going to get 1,000 think pieces about, is this the death of the dunk contest? What happened to the dunk contest? LeBron needs to do the dunk contest. Why doesn't Anthony Edwards do the dunk contest? And we're going to get all these think pieces again. And it's not going to fix anything.
Nope.
At some point, there will be a really good dunk contest, and people go, the dunk contest is back! Like, no, it's not.
I'm here for the 3-point shootout. They've got some shooters in that one.
That's a fun one.
Yeah.
But I'm skipping the dunk contest discourse. If it's good, cool. If it's not, whatever. I won't be participating.
Okay.
That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. Jiffy Lube's the sponsor. We're the insiders. Let's take a look back at the first half for the Sacramento Kings. The first half-ish, the first portion of the season, the pre-All-Star break portion of the season. What's gone wrong? What's gone well? Question mark? We'll do all that next. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen on ESPN 1320 Sacramento Sports Center. I had to go to Trader Joe's today because we typically do like meal prep, right? Where my wife will meal prep lunches for the week, or we'll make dinner that has enough for leftovers for lunch. Well, we didn't do that last night. And I was because I'll get Trader Joe's frozen meals and put them in the freezer. That way, when I don't have lunch, I don't have the excuse of like, oh, I'm going to go buy lunch now because I have lunch here.
Yep.
Right. So I had to go to Trader Joe's today. I got to Trader Joe's at like 8:12. I came here, I set some stuff up first, and then I went down there. It was packed. If you need flowers today, Trader Joe's is the spot, y'all.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Oh, speaking of,
Oh, they didn't ring the doorbell.
if you need flowers today, Strelitzia Flower Company in Davis is the spot, y'all.
There you go.
But if you can't get out to Davis,
Not Trader Joe's, right? So what you said earlier about just kind of like Domas and them missing him in the paint.
can the stream hear you too?
Yeah,
Okay,
they should
good.
be able to.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It just and then I think James was like, well, and then think about Keegan. I just sent you. That made me think of that meme of the girl drowned. Well, the skeleton underwater, and that's exactly what I thought of. So I had to put that together real quick.
That's so funny. Oh, that's so good. Can I show the stream this?
Yeah, of course.
Can everybody read that? I can't tell.
It says, yeah, there. It's got DeRozan and Levine playing, and then DeMontis is not doing too hot, and then you got Keegan all the way under, man.
That's so good.
Is he grabbing the flowers?
I think so.
Okay, well, I still have his money. So.
Wow, that's so nice. First time listener, Manny the Manatee Hybrid, and he is subscribed to the channel. Thank you so much. If you have not subscribed to the channel, by the way, and you're here, could you subscribe to the channel? That'd be great. And also hit the little thumbs up like button. We would appreciate the heck out of that as well. If you're here waiting for D'Lo and KC, you won't have to go anywhere because this stream just stays live. You'll watch us transition the studio, and then it'll be D'Lo and KC. Dude, I was so embarrassed, man. Like, I was trying to, so what happened was I was doing math because I was trying to like estimate, okay, his first contract is probably like this, his second one was like this, and I could not for the life of me put together 32 and 45. It's 77 was the number I was trying to get to. And I, for the goddamn life of me, could not add those two numbers together. And so I'm like, okay, hang on. Why isn't this? My brain just froze. And then next thing I know, Damien's going, okay, Jesse says this. Kenny says this. I had nothing written down. I was like, whoop, I'm out. I'm just leaving. This is what an idiot. So just, okay. Okay. My God.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
Hey, show off those flowers that Strelitzia just dropped off for us. Yo!
Seriously.
That's insane.
Absolutely incredible.
Those are amazing.
Big shout out to our friends at Strelitzia.
I hope my wife isn't watching. If she is, hello, honey. I'm about to ruin my surprise. I'm dropping those off at her work, and she has no idea.
Oh, sweet.
I emailed her boss. Well, I know one of her coworkers, So I had to reach out to the coworker and said, hey, what's your boss's email? I had to email the boss and be like, hey, I'm planning on doing this. Is that okay? And when can I do it where it's not a massive disruption? And I got my answers and we're good to go. So fingers crossed this isn't the one time ever she's tuned in.
Hopefully not. Yeah, absolutely incredible.
Yeah. I don't know what I was expecting.
Those are literally the biggest roses I've ever seen in my.
They look fake.
They're like the size of a baseball.
That's what I was expecting. Like, the roses you buy like at the grocery store, but like done up really nice.
See, this is why you don't go to the grocery store for roses. You spend a little bit extra and you get something amazing like this. This is like, they're like tree limbs. This is incredible.
They're the
absolutely wild.
They're the type of roses that will just be, hey, you remember those roses you got me that year for Valentine's Day? And they're not just available for Valentine's Day. Strelitzia, get your significant other flowers anytime.
That's right. And Mother's Day is coming up.
And ladies, if you're listening, guys like flowers too.
Yeah. Wow.
Doesn't have to be a one-way street,
Yeah. Pretty cool, eh?
You know what's not been pretty cool?
Uh-oh.
The Kings' first half.
Good segue.
Thanks. What a ridiculous 5 months, bro. I was and I've done this rant before. I'm going to do it again. When I got this job, I'd been laid off for like 6 months, and I got this job here in Sacramento. And if you know me, you know how much I love this city and how 98% of my work in media has been in Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this market, and I love the fans and all that. When I got my job up here, I was so stoked, but then so many people were like, "Oh man, gonna have to cover the Kings, huh?" It's like they were coming off Beam Team 1. I was like, yeah, "No, I get to cover the Kings. Like they are ascending. I am really high on where this team's at." And then last year didn't go great. It's like, all right, but hey, you know what? Needed to make a couple of tweaks. You get DeMar DeRozan. Okay, this year it's going to be better. I said 51 wins all off season, and even through the first part of the season, they struggled a little bit, and it was like, okay, 51 wins. I'm sticking with it. And now we're just back here. And that's what we fired a coach. We've had to trade a franchise point guard in just kind of a messy way.
Yeah.
You got
the honeymoon phase is over, huh?
It's over.
Oh man.
This actually it feels even worse than like the ending of the honeymoon phase. It feels like the divorce phase.
Oh.
Like the dissolution afterwards. Like
No.
That's what it feels like. And it's really a bummer because like I don't know how else to, like, I've covered this team for so long, and you're hoping to see the rise, right? And the 6 to 8 year window of really, really good like playoff basketball.
Yeah. So
But
where it looked like they were headed.
But you just like, you got to a point and all of a sudden there's like the giant spinning wheel on your computer screen. Like they just got to a point where they just got stuck and they didn't do the necessary things. And then by the time they did do the necessary things, it was like, oh no, like that's out of desperation.
They just started Kangsing all over the place.
Yeah. Just like really, really frustrating. I hate seeing, again, coaches get fired in the middle of the season. It doesn't usually work out. And then I absolutely hate seeing you get to a point with your superstar player where he's got to go. And like, this is the second time I've seen it. Like DeMarcus Cousins, same exact situation, except for DeMarcus was the flip side of it. He's the one that like really just couldn't figure out how to be an employee, how to be a good employee and how to like find success.
This is tough because I know the De'Aaron stuff. There's so many layers to it. So understand that I know there's layers to it, but try and follow me here.
Mm-hmm.
When the Kings traded DeMarcus, it was like, okay, like that was, if you kind of knew what was going on behind the scenes, it's like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Like I get why they felt they had to do that. With De'Aaron, it was not necessarily like that. And I know it like I said, it reached that point a little bit, but on the surface, when all this first came down, it was like, wait, no, why? What? And again, now we know that he was out when Mike Brown got fired and
The complexities of it are just
Yes.
like, again, we could sit here and I could write a couple of chapters of a book on the complexities of this specific situation. It's wild. The backstory is wild and outlandish, and just like it's not over. And we'll see more down the road. I don't think it's over at all. And I also don't think the ripple effect from it is over. Like, this is exactly what we said at the beginning of the season. You don't win, a coach gets fired, a star player asks out, front office gets fired, you start fresh next year. We're just careening towards that right now. It's just like right there. Like, I don't know if there's a way to pull the brakes and get you off that track. And maybe they find a way. Maybe, again, like, I think Doug has done a really good job of keeping this thing at least on somewhat of a path.
Yeah, they
right?
haven't lost 10 in a row and just fallen out completely.
No, and they won 7 in a row.
Yeah,
And they got back over 500 after falling 6 games under.
Mhm.
So those are all good things. He's 7 games over 500 as a head coach.
Mhm.
It's good stuff. And you hope that translates to him getting a job, like, moving forward here.
Sure.
Right. But like, he still needs the pieces that we keep talking about. He still needs those things. And, I get it. Like, you added some pieces and it looks okay. It looks better than it did a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Right. You've started to piece some of the depth around but where was that 6 months ago? Where was that 2 months ago? Like, why did we have to get to this point where we're all the way down this path? And it's tough, but this is where they are.
We're at a point now that I don't think you referred to them as traumas, so I'm just going to use that word. The traumas are over. You've got an off season to navigate now.
Oh yeah.
And the off season will be, and I hesitate to look forward right now, but I think the off season is going to obviously be dictated by how the season ends. If the Kings find their way into the playoffs and they win around in the playoffs, everything kind of looks a little bit different, right? But if they continue on this path and they miss the postseason, whether it's via the play-in or whatever, and they just don't make the playoffs, they're not one of the final 8 teams in the West, you're probably looking at a new front office. You might be looking at a new front office anyway. I don't think the moves that they made at the deadline were enough to be like, oh, hey, yeah, they got to go in the right direction. I think they just made some moves. And then number 2, we don't know what the fallout, like we've seen kind of the immediate fallout. I think part of it is why they've struggled lately, is just like, this has just been a lot. But there might be additional fallout this offseason where you've got players like, hey man, this sucks. Like, we already saw DeMar DeRozan talk about this publicly with Lou Williams.
Yeah.
Said, hey, part of the reason I came here was De'Aaron, so if he's gone, I got some stuff to think about.
He's not the only one. Like, Domantas Sabonis might be in the same exact boat where he's saying, hey, what exactly are we doing here? Because I signed up to play with this group of players. And we can say, oh, well, him and De'Aaron, whatever, they unfollowed each other, all that stuff. No, they put these guys in a situation where it became contentious behind the scenes, where people chose sides. And I think more than anything else, that's what we're going to see how this thing plays out. But where people chose specific sides, and there are winners and losers in the deal.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, who's the real loser? The Sacramento Kings fans.
That's it.
Because you had something, you were on the rise, and now you don't. And you're hoping that they can somehow claw together and keep this thing together. But now you're hoping and dreaming of that with a 35-year-old and a 30-year-old with long history of injury, and like all of these pieces that don't fit together. You're like trying to figure it out, but you're really locked in to this roster too. Like, you might be able to trade DeMar DeRozan this summer. You hope you don't have to trade Domantas Sabonis this summer, but you also, there's no going back on Zach LaVine. Nobody else is taking the 46 and 49 million the next 2 years. Like, you can make changes, but those changes are going to hurt. And not only that, but you got to figure out a way to grow this team the right way, to put the pieces in place to make this team better. Or you don't. You admit defeat and you go backwards and you try to scrap it all and start over. And you might be forced into that just because.
That's it.
So tough decisions, man. Yeah, it's like a team on the brink again. Like you're on the precipice of disaster again, and I don't want to, like, we're talking about the first half of the season. It's not just about last night's game.
Mhm.
It's not. Because again, this is like whatever we're talking about right now is band-aid solutions. Whatever happened at the trade deadline is band-aid solutions and knee-jerk reactions. Like, how do you move forward from this? And that's going to be the challenge that's ahead.
Yeah.
And, again, like it's messy. Like this story is so messy behind the scenes. Like, I don't know how everybody survives any of it. Like it's really, really a complicated and ugly story.
That's James. I'm Kyle.
We're the downers.
We're the very serious bummers today. But in all seriousness, my next question was going to be, okay, there's all that.
Mhm.
Do you see any silver linings? Like, and I want to be very clear on this because I don't want it to sound like we're trying to spin this as actually everything's great. It's not. Everything's bad, and it's probably going to get worse. Probably.
Yeah.
Is there a world where they go, I don't know, where they got 27 left, 18-9 in their final 27 and make it? Sure, man. Like if that's where you want to live, cool. I'm not going to live there. I don't think James is going to live there, but okay. Silver linings, like just little things. Like I want to try and be a little positive. And again, these are not things that necessarily mean everything's going to be awesome, but has there been player performances, roster moves, anything like that jumps out to you as like, hey, that's actually been a thumbs up?
Are there? Yeah, I think Keon Ellis has just established himself as a player that you need to figure out how to keep him long term.
That was when I wrote this down. That was the one thing that jumped out to me.
Yeah, I think he's just been absolutely wonderful as a person to have on your team, as a representative. I also think, for whatever like the ups and downs that we've seen, I think Malik Monk is a starting NBA point guard, and I think he's a very good one. And I think that but you have to support him in the right way. You need shooters, you need defensive players around him. I think that that's one of those things where I do believe that he can play NBA point guard for 30 plus minutes a night. I'd like to see a lot more pick and rolls. I'd like to see you get back to like who you were before. They've had to scrap a lot of things because that's not what DeMar and what Levine do. And so you're trying to, like what Mark said yesterday, they're putting all of these bull sets into their like offensive system. But I do think that Malik Monk averaging, close to 20 points and like 6.5, 7 assists a game as a starter, like that's really good. And I think there is potential for him to be that type of player night in and night out. Will he have like just a straight climb to the top? No, but you certainly understand this offseason what he needs to work on. He needs to work on getting stronger. He needs to work on the endurance factor, being able to be a great 3-point shooter for, 6 months, not for a month here, a month there, and then having off months in between. But overall, I think that that's a good plus. I think that Jake LaRavia has been like a really nice find. And I think that they can keep him around. I'm not in the panic mode that everybody else is.
Not going to be a $10 million a year guy.
No, I don't think he's a $7
Can we
million.
stick on the Malik thing real quick?
Yeah.
Before we move on. First of all, you talked about the 3-point shooting. His 3-point percentage has gone down every year for the last 5 years. 40.1 to 39.1 to 35.9 to 35 to 32.5. I don't love that. I don't love the more than 2 turnovers a game. I disagree that he's a starting point guard in the NBA.
Yeah, you can disagree with
me.
I
think he is frankly, I think the best version of Malik Monk is a 6-man. I think that him being a starter, where you mentioned Band-Aid solutions, that's what this was. That was Mike Brown firing the last arrow in his quiver, like, hey, let's try this, because he resisted it for so long. Because, hey, you know what? If the Kings are good, it means they have a better starting point guard than Malik Monk. And Malik's coming off the bench, and he's being electric there, and he's being super vital to what they're doing. That, I think, is the best version of the Kings, where Malik Monk is on the roster, is one where they have a good enough starting point guard that Malik can either slide to the 2 or come off the bench.
I don't like fully disagree with that. Like, I do think his best role is coming off the bench in 26 minutes a night, 26 to 30 minutes a night, and like changing the whole
and he can spot
everything.
start when he needs to.
Yeah, but I'll just like be straight up honest right now. He's a better point guard than Keon Ellis. He's a better point guard than Zach LaVine.
He's their he's this Kings team. He's their best option without question.
He is easily their best option, and there is the fact that he does have chemistry with Domas. But you have to put him again. I always go back to the Kawhi Leonard thing. Put him in the position to succeed.
Then maybe that's something that if they're going to move forward with Malik Monk as the starting point guard, then maybe that's something that you need a new front office, a new head coach, or maybe it's Doug who will do this. But you need a front office who's going to go, okay, we're committing to this pick and roll, and we're just going to have awesome defenders and 3-point shooters surrounding them, and that's going to be it. And then you need a head coach who's going to look at it and go, all right, Malik Monk and Domas pick and roll. We're going to spam it every game.
At this point, I'm watching. They've shifted Malik to the left side, where he can't even really get in the pick and roll action because it's almost like that's where LaVine feels more comfortable. Like you see, DeMar likes to be on the left block. It feels like LaVine likes to be opposite of DeMar. And so they've done that. And so now Malik can't even really get in a true pick and roll because for him to go in the pick and roll action, he's starting way over on the left and having to go through where LaVine's man is.
Right.
And so you're like, what is happening? Like, why are you taking away, like, Doug likes to talk about superpowers of players. Malik's superpower is as the best pick and roll guard in the game. He is like, that's statistically speaking, that's why they went out and got him outside of him loving De'Aaron Fox. They saw what he was like in the pick and roll. And they're like, okay,
really quick first step, good distributor, smart with it.
Incredible passer in the pick and roll. Like he sets up Domas perfectly. And if they had a lob threat, he'd set up that guy too. So like, why are we getting away from players' superpowers? And I'm not sure.
I have no idea. This goes back to the conversation we were having earlier with the team building. I would love to know, like, why did you think these pieces were going to work? What's the theory here? What's the method here that this was all going to work? Because to your point, if you're going to commit to Malik Monk being your starting point guard, if you're going, okay, that's what we're going to do moving forward, Zach LaVine is not it. Unless you're going to plant Zach LaVine in the corner and you're like, hey, Zach LaVine, you're a spot-up shooter now, which you're not.
Yep.
But give me 2 additional Keegan Murrays. Great, cool. They're going to hang out and they're going to shoot threes and they're going to play good defense. But that's not what this roster is. So
I think you've got one of them. If you can find a way to start Keegan and Keon together.
Good point.
You can disguise a lot of things. And I'm okay. Again, DeMar DeRozan 6'6". Same with Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine can play the three. If DeMar can play the three, Zach can play the three. So if you're going to go ahead and do that, you still need to find a shot blocker. You need to find other pieces that complement those players. But I'm okay with like a 3-guard set, basically, as long as you figure out how to add more pieces along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
don't trust this front office to do that. And I don't know that that's how they want to go about building a team, just organizationally.
No. Tough.
Really tough. Shout out to Keon Ellis, though. Salute. Having a heck of a year.
Yeah.
He really is. He really, really is. He's developing very nicely. If you can find a couple more Keons, maybe Isaac Jones is a player. Maybe Jake Laravia is a player.
Find a way to extend Keon as quickly as possible.
Yeah. All right. Joe Brazil's behind the glass. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. Jiffy Lube sponsors this show. The handoff with one of Damian or Kenny coming up. I don't know if Kenny's here yet. I saw Damian. I don't know. Somebody from D'Lo and KC is going to join us next on The Insider, sponsored by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader.
I'm going to move these flowers back out. One more time. You guys check out StrelitzkiaFlowerCompany.com.
God, those are sweet.
I mean, I'm trying to like the size of my coffee cup.
You maybe can you put your fists next to one of them?
Oh, you know what? I'll put my phone.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I mean,
that's crazy.
Absolutely incredible.
I kind of felt the same way, to be honest.
Smells so good too.
Yeah, I kind of think Levine might be able to be that, maybe. Yes. I don't know how deep voters dive into these teams though, and the fact that he doesn't start might hurt him, and the fact he plays in Sacramento might hurt him. But I think he is that quality of player. Dang, that's crazy. When I moved to Arizona, this explains a lot about me. When I moved to Arizona, I was on a contract that back paid a month. So my first month in Arizona, I got no paychecks, and I was 23. I was like just out of college. I didn't have any money, and so I didn't I didn't have anything like really like saved up or anything. So I was just like skinning my teeth. So those ads you get in the mail, I would Carl's Jr. and Jack in the Box.
Oh yeah.
I would just take those with me. They were just in my car on my way to work on certain days when I worked early. Well, I can get 2-for-1 bacon and egg biscuit at Carl's Jr. Bet we're doing that. Eating one for breakfast, one for lunch. Here we go.
99-cent Whoppers when I was a construction worker and moved down, lived with my dad when my parents first got divorced. And it was like so broke. We were so broke that we would go buy 2 Whoppers each, like $4. And then, like have one for breakfast, one for lunch.
It's the best.
Yeah.
$5 pizzas at Domino's. Fast food in general has gotten expensive.
All of it's expensive. It's crazy. McDonald's breakfast for a family of 4 is like $55. Yeah.
McDonald's is ridiculously expensive now, but
Yeah.
if you use the app, you can save. Like it can still be somewhat cheap.
That's true.
Promotions was handing out little ducks today.
I didn't get one.
Did you ask?
Duck.
You didn't get one? Oh, well, you know, I might be able to pull some strings for you.
There we go.
Hey, shout out to Little Caesars Hot and Ready. We probably shouldn't shout out random businesses here
Yeah.
because I don't know who sponsors what, but there we go.
I know we've been working with Carl's Jr. though.
We love Carl's Jr. here. I love Carl's Jr. mostly because Kenny Caraway loves Carl's Jr.
Okay. All right.
Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
James Hammond, Kyle Madsen, the Insiders. Joe Brazil on the 1s and 2s. Appreciate you hanging out, Joe. The handoff's supposed to start here shortly. We don't have anybody here yet. That's fine. A couple of the silver linings we were talking about with the Kings that we didn't get to dive into because I wanted to stop on the Malik Monk thing. The Jake LaRavia edition, I think, has potential. But again, I think that is the type of player where if he's your 8th or 9th player, you're in a very good spot. It can't be. Jake LaRavia is going to be the 6th man now. Because he's not, that's not, I think, where he's at as a player. And maybe someday he develops into that, and maybe someday he becomes that. But that's been one of the silver linings for me has been that addition. You started to say that and I cut you off.
Yeah, I think it's been a really solid addition. And I don't know what it's going to mean going forward. I mean, look, Trey Lyles is in the last year of his contract. Jake LaRavia is in the last year of his contract. Like you're walking into this offseason with, a couple of your rotational pieces as like major question marks. I think LaRavia is a player that I would invest in, but It's whether or not you can get him to stick around for like less than 5.1 million. I don't think that that's going to be a big issue. Like I think
hope not.
Jake LaRavia, to me, I know some people are like, the 3-year 24, the 3-year 21, or even 3-year 18. The Kings can come pretty close to that, the 3-year 18, because of it starts at 5.1 million, but goes up 8% a year. I don't see him as that type of player, to be honest with you, especially in Sacramento, where he's very limited as far as like how many minutes he's going to play here down the stretch. So a 2-year 10 is probably what he's going to get, maybe a 2-year $8 million deal. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like it is what it is. But
we like to lie to the people.
I don't think that value's out there. And it's the same thing with Harry Giles. Like people were so upset and like, oh, Harry's going to get, $7 million a year. And like Harry Giles never got a guaranteed contract ever again. More often than not. I mean, I remember years ago with Ike Diagu. You remember the Ike Diagu era?
Be like Ike? Well, that was Arizona State. But
yeah.
It was like, I like Ike or something.
Yeah, he finished the season with 2 30-point games, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, you got to lock him up, a 4-year whatever. And like, I don't think Ike Diagu ever got another NBA contract ever again.
We got to do this the right way. Hang on.
It's time now for the handoff. Taking the handoff from James and Kyle today, here's KC, Kenny Caraway.
Yeah, that's him.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I got to check. I don't know what's going on with them drops, man. I don't know, man. So I just had to check.
They're good stuff.
No, they're all the same now. It's just taking the handoff. Which they still tried to flag in the chat.
Well, I mean,
that's a play on.
I mean, it is a hey. No. I don't know if they're gonna call it, but it is a hey.
Yeah.
It's goddamn.
You know what I couldn't stop thinking about last night? Watching the Kings lose in overtime to the 12-win Pelicans. Now 13-win Pelicans. Wait, why aren't my buttons working? Oh, because I'm on the wrong side. Hang on. When Joe is here, our setup is a little different, and I have to click the buttons at a different place.
Oh my gosh, they're so unserious. Kings.
I kept saying that just out loud. I'm watching the game by myself, and I kept saying that last night.
I don't even know where that clip came from.
It was you. It was you saying, because the Kings had lost a game earlier in the year, and it was just like they just lost. It wasn't.
Yeah. And
you were saying, like, I'm not going to come on here and be like, they're so unserious, Kings.
The origins of that, I remember, I say that often, I guess, but the origins was like, I think it was like 2 years ago. Maybe not 2 years, maybe just a year ago, but yeah. Because unserious was like real hot.
Oh, yeah. I still say that sometimes.
Oh, my gosh. They're so unserious.
That was a tough loss, man.
That was a tough loss. That was tough, man. I know, there's a lot of people that want to point fingers and blame and stuff like that, and they lost. Like I'm bottom line when they win. I'm bottom line when they lose. Like when you don't win, everything's fair game. Like people can say whatever the reason was, but man, I ain't gonna say I feel sorry for them or nothing like that, but. And they was trying to get out of there with a win, and they just couldn't do it. They couldn't make enough shots. They couldn't get enough stops, and they couldn't. I know maybe a week ago when all this started, like the final 4 games, so I was like, man, if they can go 3-1, because rarely do I ask for like just a clean sweep of
yeah. That's fair.
What I mean. So I'm like, man, if they go 3-1, I think that'd be pretty good.
And that's the 2 Pelicans games, Warriors, Jazz.
Okay. Oh well, no, it was 3 Pelicans games. It was the home.
3 Pelicans game and
2 Pelicans.
The Mavs.
Dallas.
Yeah. Oh, got you.
So
Okay.
I was like, man, 3-1 in that situation. When you got in a situation where you could go 4-0, it does 3-1 don't feel the same way. Like it does sting that you didn't get the 4-0, especially with the record that the Pelicans have, man. So that was tough last night.
When you got to 3-0, you had to get to 4-0. I mean, I think, but I also understand what you're saying. It's really hard to be hypercritical of. Let's just like DeMar DeRozan, who like misses his final 7 shots last night, right? It's so hard to be hypercritical because he carried you to a victory the night before, and 2 days earlier he carried you to a victory against Dallas with the 42 points, and he was so incredibly good. But there is no way to like like move the train a different direction once you go that way with DeMar. And it's like I would have loved to have seen the Kings figure out a way to actually have a conversation on the court and say, hey, look, it's not your night. We need somebody else to step up. And Malik is stepping up, and Zach LaVine's stepping up, and Keegan's actually hit his shots, and Domas just got in pick and roll, coverage like 5 times in a row and scored a bunch of points. Can we just try to go a different direction for a couple of plays and see how it works? If the ball finds you and you hit a jumper, that's great. Or if you miss a jumper, that's fine. But for DeMar just to take it on himself and to realistically like call for the ball and get in the way, even in one of the late plays with Zach LaVine.
See, that was LaVine's fault. I watched that play. That's LaVine's fault. That's the play that they call all the time, the cross screen on the baseline. You see as they're going up the court, Keon is telling Malik, yeah, you go set the screen. You go set the screen. Malik is down there setting the cross screen for Debo. And Zach LaVine, now, whether it's practice time, whether it's knowing what's going on, he goes rogue and attacks the basket in that situation. And he runs into DeRozan in that situation. Now, there's a lot of things that go into that situation. Maybe Malik should have been bringing the ball up. Maybe he should have, because he knows, hey, this is what we're doing. I got the cross screen. I'm going to hit him or whatever. Maybe Zach doesn't know. Maybe Zach thinks he has autonomy to just kind of go. Maybe DeMar should have seen it and just stopped. But the play, if the way I see it and the way I've seen this team play for months now, that play was supposed to go to DeMar DeRozan, and Zach LaVine just kind of saw an angle and went. So, but
we've seen that play. We saw that play like 7 consecutive plays, and it did not work at all. It didn't work, and they kept doing it. And it almost felt like, again, the way that Doug and the way that Mike have described this offense, that players are able to go do what they want to do. And I think that looked to me like DeMar, yeah, he was going to go run the play again. And it's like, no, Zach's like, no, we're not running the play. And DeMar didn't stop, didn't give, a guy who's got 32 points and 11 assists or 10 assists, whatever it was. He didn't give him an opportunity to, he didn't step back and say, okay, go ahead and take the play. Instead, he ran his man right into the play. And it was like, okay.
Yeah, but
Zach turned the ball over.
That's Zach LaVine's fault. In my opinion, that's Zach LaVine's fault. Like, regardless of who called the play or what should have happened, like the play was being ran, and he ran right into DeMar DeRozan's DeRozan, Monk, and all those guys.
Whoever's fault that was, to me though, matters less than you predicted a blowout according to the chatty house.
I did.
James and I did the same.
Points.
James and I did the exact same.
We thought it'd be a 20.
What did I say? 128, 101. I think was like I was fully on board with the Kings gonna boat race these dudes. And then to have them come out that way, the takeaway for me is, they're a little bit better than the Pelicans. Like that's where this team is at right now. They're about a 500 team. And I think we keep waiting. It's like we heard about this pitcher. Yeah, this guy throws 108 miles an hour and he's throwing 96. We're just kind of like, okay, wait, no, this is going to be the one. It's like, oh, nope, 96 on the gun again. Like, oh, maybe this is just kind of their fastball. Maybe they're about a 500 team.
Maybe.
And the fact that they don't have that switch to flip where, they're just going to go dominate a Pelicans team that's not playing Zion. Like, that's a bummer to me.
I was disappointed loss last night. Sure.
You know what's not going to be disappointing is the celebrity game tonight, because Underdog has celebrity game picks.
They did their thing.
I've got a lineup on Underdog using this celebrity basketball game tonight that Mark Jones is calling.
And your insider knowledge from actually having Mark Jones on the show yesterday.
So you already know. Here's what I'm rocking with tonight on the Underdog Daily Fantasy app. Their pick'em game is super easy. Pick 2 or more players, higher or lower on stats, points, rebounds, assists, etc. You know how stats go. Here's my lineup for tonight in the Celebrity All-Star game. Alicia Gray, WNBA player. I'm going lower than 12.5 points because when you're as good as she is, when you're that much better than everybody, you're not going to go out and try and cook and score 20.
Right.
She's going to distribute. She's going to try and let the celebrities have the fun. That's how I think that's going to go. I'm going lower than 12.5 points.
I see that.
Matt Barnes, same deal. Lower than 13.5. I don't think Matt Barnes is going to go out there and try and score a bunch of points and steal the show. He's going to let the celebrities do that.
I got you.
He's going to rebound, going to distribute. He'll score here and there.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to go crazy. Terrell Owens, though, 51 years old. You know Terrell Owens is going to try and cook. I've got him higher than 8.5 points. And then Drewski, I'm certain Drewski can't even dribble a basketball. I'm going lower than 4.5 points for Drewski.
Oh, well, maybe so. I saw him drain a 3 yesterday on Instagram.
Uh-oh.
You need to share those things with Kyle.
I think Drewski's going to spend more time trying to be funny than scoring points. So I'm going lower than 4.5 for Drewski. Can't wait. Join me on the Underdog app today and sign up using the promo code Kyle M to unlock a special offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun when you sign up with promo code Kyle M. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. D-Lo and KC coming up next. For James Hammond, Joe Brazil, I'm Kyle Madsen. Jiffy Lube is the sponsor of the Insiders. We're back on Tuesday. No show Monday. We're back Tuesday at 10 a.m. on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. Until then, drink water and be nice to people.